Wisdom Now starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Mark. He's Gordon. And with it recently being, Veterans Day earlier this month, and with the holidays, we wanted to bring on just a great guest, Gordon. And it's funny because our next guest, William Tokarsky, he shares a lot of similarities between the both of us. You're a diehard Blue Jays fan. He's Braves, which was an iconic World Series. You're both, military. And William, you and I, we've worked with some of the same people: Jamie Presley, Jack Black. I was just a fly on the wall. William's a big name, or how do you say it? Good actor? You're not a great actor. You're a good actor. I think you're a great actor myself. But William, this is just
No,
such a joy.
what I say is I'm not a great actor. Hell, I'm not even a good actor. But I do know what solidarity is. And, we're on strike right now.
Right, ACTRA, or the Screen Actors Guild. In Canada, we call it ACTRA.
I learned something new.
There you go.
Hey, now we just had Thanksgiving, okay?
Yes. Okay.
Now, if you're up in Canada, now
Yep.
I know you have a 4th of July up there. Do you guys have a Thanksgiving?
Yes, we do. Our 4th of July is the 1st of July, when Canada was officially made a country, July 1, 1867. Our Thanksgiving happens, it's on a Monday, and it's either the second or third Monday in October, and it's not as big a deal. Thanksgiving is not as big a deal up here as it is in the United States. But the reason our Thanksgiving is earlier is because our harvest. Thanksgiving is a harvest festival. We're colder. We harvest our crops a month or so before you do. And so we have our Thanksgiving earlier. What makes no sense is our Thanksgiving is earlier, but Groundhog Day is the same.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah, and up here it's Wyerton Willie. And there's no point in having Groundhog Day on February 2nd in Canada, because there is never a February 2nd when spring is right around the corner.
No, not in Canada.
All right. Now,
ours should be March 2nd.
Cool. Well, that answers that question for me. We just had our Thanksgiving, and being that I am part-time Santa Claus, I get to say a lot of the blessings. So if you're recording, I will give you guys a blessing.
There we go.
All right.
Come on, Santa.
Go for it. Come on.
Lay it on.
God is good. Beer is great. And all actors are crazy.
There you go. This is great. Now, William, we want to, with it being Veterans Day earlier this month, we want to talk about your military career. We'd love to find out, how you got into the military, and let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I was a young kid, and I was young, dumb, and full of excitement. And my brother convinced me that I needed to join the Naval Reserves. And little did I know that when they get together, everybody they get to join, the guy that recruits him gets $5. So I just tell everybody my brother sold me for $5. But regardless, I ended up in the United States Navy on what is affectionately known as a kiddie cruise. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I hadn't, no.
If you enlist before your 18th birthday, you get separated from the service on the day before your 21st birthday. So you're a kid the whole time, and it's a kiddie cruise. yet you get all the rights and benefits of a 4-year enlistment. So it was, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but in 1965, it was called a kiddie cruise by my local naval recruiter. I went to basically learn electronics. And basically, while I was in there, I fixed electronics. And what I was, anyone that was aware, I was what was affectionately called a spook. We were the people that listened or watched or tried to figure out what the other guy was doing. All my training set me up for a little job in Vietnam where, and I like to tell folks my claim to fame is I used to share airspace with John McCain over North Vietnam. But what we did was we flew up over Yankee Station. Yankee Station was the aircraft carrier that the pilots would fly off of to attack North Vietnam. And so, you know, realistically, we were sharing airspace. But what we would do is we would go up there and fly a figure 8 about 1.5 miles off the coast. And we had people with headphones on that would listen. They would listen to the SAM missile sites, the talk that was going on, low frequency, low range, and they would recognize these people. And we had reel-to-reel tape recorders that recorded them. And we had like meetings afterwards. They would come back and discuss these people, give them nicknames, who they were dealing with. And we would try to figure out where the SAM missile bases were. Okay. The missile bases, there was about, in 1967, there were about 50 or 60 mobile bases and a couple hundred places they could be. So we tried to figure out where they were. So if we heard them say they're going to fire a missile, we would be able to warn the pilots. Okay. And the way we warned them is we sent a crypto teletype message. Yes. Talk about old technology, to the 7th Fleet down there in some ship, and they would have some sort of code word that they passed on to the pilots. We also, and this was a big plane. There was 32 souls on board. It was an old Super Constellation, the old twin tail in the back, with a huge radar dome underneath and a big radar dome on the top. We also had this young ensign that would get on the back of the plane wearing a 45 with a briefcase handcuffed to his arm. And in that briefcase was the flight ops for the day, what we were going to do in Rolling Thunder, what the Navy was going to do. And what would occur was the MiG bases all controlled their pilots very strictly. And each MiG base, and they had a half a dozen bases, controlled their own pilots. So to prevent problems between them, they used Morse code and communicated from one base to the other, sharing all their information. We broke the code, and we'd have a kid on the side taking ditties as to where, Morse code. We'd have a kid taking Morse code who would have another guy plot the flight of the MiGs up on a big board that was transparent, on a plexiglass board. And then on the side with the ensign, he was plotting today's flight ops. And if we saw the two lines come with each other, we generated a warning. Now, I wasn't skilled in any of those things. I was the guy that fixed the earphones, fixed the crypto, fixed the teletype. And I only flew once a month. Okay. I flew so I could draw flight pay and be flight qualified. And the reason was, one time They went up, got on station, and one of the pieces of equipment that they needed didn't work. They came back, landed at Da Nang, woke my ass up, got me on the plane, and back out we went. So yeah, it was, so I did 25 flights, I think, while I was over there. I was only there for 6 months. All of the spooks were over there on temporary duty. And as typical for the Navy had a large ammo dump on one of the sides of the runway. And when we moved in, they moved the fence of the ammo dump back and built us 3 barracks. Well, when July 15th, 1967, there was this little rocket attack that occurred.
Uh-oh.
And it blew up one of the ammo dumps, which flattened us. But we survived. I had one Marine that was with me, got hurt pretty bad, and we're doing first aid on him. But so it ended. It lasted about 45 minutes and it ended. And I wiped the shit off my ass and went about my business. I had taken my shirt off to do first aid to his back where he had a shrapnel wound. And the little North Vietnamese folks, sneaky little bastards that they were, started shooting from the other direction with rockets. Hit another ammo dump, blew us up, filled the sky up with little red hot pieces of shrapnel, and I got burned all over my back. Oh. But that was the extent of my career. And then I went to a sucky place called Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
Finished my enlistment and went on about the world.
And you got out the day before you turned 21.
Correct.
Now, a question. After all that serious talk about ammo dumps being blown out and intercepting or potentially being intercepted by MiGs and surface-to-air missiles.
Oh, yeah.
In the United States in the 1960s and still in many states now, you can't drink until you're 21, correct?
That is in the United States.
Now, but you as a military service member at 17, 18, 19, 20, you would be allowed to drink on base, would you not?
Correct.
So is the reason you joined, was it to get your brother $5, or was it the reason so that you could drink legally for 4 years before you legally turned 21?
Well, I think that's a valid question, and I think I won't answer it. But
I love it.
But I believe there was a lot of good karma for me because I went to the Philippines, and the Philippines is fantastic for beer. Their little beer that they brew over there was San Miguel. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had it before. Yep.
Yes.
I've had it in Vietnam. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I grew up on it. I had a great time. And at another podcast, I'll tell you some stories about me and the Shore Patrol.
Wow. Now, you joined, so you served in Vietnam, in the Vietnam
Yes.
War, as a young kid, young, dumb, full of excitement. And you were in from roughly 65 to 69?
Yes, 65 to 69.
And during that time, and especially in the years after 1969, 1970, that's when anti-Vietnam War sentiment really started to ramp up. Kent State and everything that happened.
We were baby killers.
Yeah, and Buffalo Springfield, and the music of the era, and everyone coming out against the war, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And what was it like, the reaction that you would get when you would go into, in Canada we call it the Legion. That's what we call you call it the What do you call a legion in the United States?
The
Veterans,
American Legion,
the
or
Yeah.
the VFW, Veterans of Foreign War,
right,
or
veterans of VFW.
AMVETS. There's a couple of clubs that compete. The first beer I ever had was when I was in that reserve unit. We marched in a Memorial Day parade. And when we got done, we went to the Legion, the American Legion, to have a buffet. And that was the first time anyone ever bought me a beer, you know. So I enjoyed that. So when I came back, I thought I would join the Legion or the VFW. And I was not greeted enthusiastically at that time, you know, even by the members of the Legion. You know, we were just, it wasn't a real war, you know, it was a police action. And, you know, it was, so I didn't renew my membership after the first go round, you know.
Yeah,
But I've been a regular visitor at the local Legion where I have retired. You know, I'm not a member, but I occasionally go by, have a meal, have a drink, bullshit with people. As
well,
you can tell, I'm a natural bullshitter.
uh, Mark mentioned the fact that you're a big Atlanta Braves fan.
Yes.
I'm a die-in-the-wool Blue Jay fan.
Yeah.
Good team.
And of course, we faced off in the 1992 World Series.
Yes.
Upside down Canadian flag at.
That's exactly the point I wanted to get at. Is a Marine color guard came out onto the field at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. I think it was still Fulton County Stadium.
I think so.
Yes. Yes.
And they were flying the Canadian flag upside down. And
I'm sure it was an error by the young man. You know, Marines aren't very smart. They, you know, that UMMC, that it's Uncle Sam's misguided children. You know,
USMC. Okay.
I actually, no, seriously, I actually tried to join the Marine Corps and go full time in the Marines, but the Marines wouldn't take me. They found out that my parents were married to each other.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I couldn't. But I do tell that regularly to any Marines that I do meet.
As a Canadian, I'll tell you, I sat there and it's a U.S. Marine color guard, and they're flying the flag upside down, and that's a military signal of distress.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, tell me that wasn't done on purpose. And I still remember there was a comedy duo on local AM radio, the two guys named Jesse and Gene.
Okay.
And they were kind of, you know, the funny morning drive DJs on Toronto back before Sirius satellite radio, when you used to listen to your local radio. And they called down to that unit of the Marines, and they just wanted to give you some friendly advice. Pointy things up, stem down. And
Great.
I want to hear, because
I enjoyed my time in Canada. I was devoted to visiting the Windsor Ballet. Are you familiar with the Windsor Ballet?
do
tell.
Not the Windsor Ballet, but I used to work for a company, and we had offices in Buffalo area. And they used to talk about coming across to see, they just called it the Canadian Ballet.
All right. Being that I retired from General Motors, I would spend a lot of time up in Detroit, and that was one of our excursions. That we would cross the bridge and go to the ballet for dinner.
Yes.
Dinner and drinks.
Well, I want to hear you and Mark talk about, because you worked, you left the military, you went to work in the automotive industry, you had another career after that, and then, like Mark, you got into the motion picture industry,
Yeah,
into
tell us about
television and
that.
film.
And was GM right after the
Well, my path has
military?
been United States Steel for 15 years.
Okay.
Okay.
And then roundabout trip, I ended up in Atlanta working for General Motors. And I spent 25 years working in their training department, teaching robotics. Basically, I'm an electrician who can bullshit. And if I can reach you and teach you what you need to know to program and repair that robot, hey, I can sit back and put my feet up. They won't call me if you can fix it. The only time they call me is when the guy on the line can't get it up. I can't get it fixed. I'm sorry. But
If that's a problem, you go to the Canadian Ballet.
yeah,
There you go.
yep. So I retired and I moved a little south of the city of Atlanta to a little city called Noonan, Georgia, home of Alan Jackson, the country western singer.
Wow.
Wow.
And oh yeah.
One
And
of
I've
my
met him
faves.
once or twice.
Sorry?
I
met
have
him
met
once
him
or
once
twice.
or twice.
Okay.
Wow. Incredible. Who haven't you met, William?
Yes. I've got a list. I've got a list of people. But at any rate, Jack Nicholson. I haven't met Jack yet, and that's probably the guy that I really want to meet. But he's quit acting, I think. But that aside, the city is called the City of Homes, and they have tours of the homes every year to raise money for the local pre-K school, and they have a lot of different architecture. They have a very strong historical society, and so they have all kind of different homes that they can use in movie sets, period pieces, and so they film a lot of movies there. And there's a lovely little movie called Get Low. It's Robert Duvall and Bill Murray and Sissy Spacek. And basically, I think it was Duvall's little passion project where he played a hermit that decided to have his own funeral thrown so he could see what people say and do and whatever for him. And it was set in maybe the 20s.
Okay.
And Bill Murray was a funeral guy, owned a funeral parlor, and wanted to make some money from it. And I think his girlfriend was Sissy Spacek, and it was the interaction in between. It's a great little film. It never had a national distribution. It played locally, and it's available to stream. I don't know where right now.
Yeah, I know you have to pay for it, like $2.99 or something. I checked my Fire Stick. Yeah.
So I'm going to be a looky-loo and go see Murray and Duvall, and right across from this old house that they're going to use as a funeral home is a park. So, we're in the park, looky-loos, people are going to stand around and watch. And you never saw Duvall. The band came up and in and out, and, you never saw anybody. But I spoke with some people that were extras working there. And I says, well, shit, man, that sounds like fun. He says, yeah, they feed you, give you, anywhere from $60 to $100 a day, depending upon what you're working, what the rate is. I understand it's a lot more now since
Oh yeah.
COVID.
When I started, it was like 64 for 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I says, well, how do you do this? And he gave me, it was on Facebook. You just go to Facebook and submit a picture of yourself, and ta-da. So I did it and got picked up the very next week on The Odd Life of Timothy Green with Jennifer Garner and a bunch of stars. But the thing was, it was just a town hall meeting, and I'm just a face in the back of the meeting. I mean, you'd have to know I was there to find me.
Right.
But I loved it. It was interesting, and I got to watch. I got to see it occurring, and I discovered things like IMDb, the Internet Movie Database.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I figured from everything I read that the director of the movie was the guy that had control of what he was doing. Okay.
Okay.
And if you wanted to be an extra that got bumped up to a featured extra or even a speaking line, you had to let that director know you were there. So I'd go look him up in IMDb, see what his face or his or her face looked like. And sometime when I'm walking or they're walking or having lunch, you make eye-to-eye contact with that person and smile. That way, if they want somebody that looks like you, they know you're there.
Right.
Smart.
It works.
Yeah.
I got about 6 bumps. And my very first bump from background to principal actor, and they know you're really stupid about acting, so they don't give you much to do, was on the movie Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
Wow. Can't get much bigger than that.
I signed up to do 5 days work, and I think it was the 4th day I came back to lunch and got my phone out and turned it on. Can't have your phone on while you're working.
No.
They really get upset with that. But there was a message from the woman that was doing the casting. It said, "You have a speaking line next week with Jennifer Lawrence, if you want it."
If you want it.
I thought I died and went to heaven. Yeah. So, I mean, I went home and chased her down, and they sent me the script, and all I had to do was say, "You want to get him killed." That was it. And I remembered earlier, they did a little scene where they had 4 bearded, scraggly guys. And one of them is still a friend of mine I deal with, that were on our knees about to be hustled off by the peacekeepers, and they had the camera on a rail and just moved right past us. Okay. And I'm convinced now, my knowledge, what I've learned over the years, is they shot all 4 of us with the idea of someone selecting one of us for that role. And basically what the scene was Jennifer Lawrence's boyfriend, Liam Helmsley, was being pistol whipped by a peacekeeper out in the town square. And her entourage with Woody Nelson and them come up, and the crowd is, watching, and she breaks through, and I look her in the eye and I say, "You want to get him killed?" Well, I was as dumb as I could be. I didn't know anything about where to put my eyes, what I looked at. I didn't know anything about keeping a mark on the ground so the camera could stay focused on me. The scene was cut, never used.
But it might be in the director's cut, like DVD or something.
It may be.
Yeah.
I think it will be. I think it will be because I worked 2 days, 14 hours a day, and made $2,400 in 2 days, where I was making $64 a day. Yeah, that was a bump. And since that was filmed, I have drawn almost 7,000 in residuals. Now it comes in pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Of course.
I think right now, when it goes through a cycle, I get $79 gross. So, and I talked to some people at SAG since, and they said, because your scene wasn't used, they don't have to pay you. It's the producer's discretion. But since they probably will maybe want to use it one day, they just continue to pay me the residuals.
Sure.
And I really like that. But the thing I
Are you
like,
sure that it's not out already on a DVD or no? Have you
well,
looked for it?
because of something else I've done, I have a little cult following. And
Yes.
someone from the cult following would let me know if
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
they
I
saw
didn't
it,
think about that.
But where was I?
Hunger
The
Games.
director
Yes.
getting to choose.
What I really liked was that morning I got into what I thought was a Taj Mahal, but it was a little honey wagon, just a little slot with a little couch in it. And there's my freshly laundered wardrobe.
Yes.
Whereas an extra, you wear the same thing all week and it stinks, you know. You know, but there's my freshly laundered wardrobe, and I get dressed, and there's a knock at the door, and I have a production assistant that's supposed to assist me. And
Wow.
he said, Mr. Yeah. He said, Mr. Tokarsky. I says, yes. He says, the director, Francis Lawrence, would like to have you join him, Woody, and Jennifer for a breakfast pre-production meeting. Oh, yeah. I
Sweet.
sat in a corner like a mouse. I never said a word. I just listened. But I enjoyed the treatment. I enjoyed all of it. So when I got that first check, I ran down to the SAG office, talked to the executive director, a woman by the name of Melissa Goodman, and said, I want to join SAG. She says to me, she says, I'll take your money, Billy. She called me Billy. And she can always call me Billy for all I care. But she says, I'll take your money, but why don't you wait? Go work some non-union shows, get you some training, and get you an agent, and then come back and see me. 2 years later, I joined SAG. Been a member ever since.
Wow.
I think it makes, well, ACTRA in Canada.
that's
ACTRA.
hard.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think it makes a difference because people that are casting consider you a professional,
Right.
and they consider you trained, although I wasn't.
How did you get the Jumanji role?
I auditioned for it.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you the secret to it. Okay.
Okay.
My agent got me the audition for Jumanji, and it was prior to when tape auditions came around. That movie was filmed in 2016. So we weren't taping all the auditions. It was a live in-person audition. And I got a copy of the script. And my lines were delivered to Bethany, I think. It was the female.
Character's name.
The character. Nowhere did it say Bethany was Jack Black.
Wow.
It never said that any of those people.
Yeah. Okay.
And I had no knowledge. I didn't do my research, okay, because I was dumb. I was just getting started. And I just delivered these lines like I was a carnival vendor to some dumb girl, you know. But yeah, so much for script analysis and the people that are learning to be actors.
Yeah, but in this role, you were playing what was a computer-generated character in a game. So you probably did it perfect.
I think so. And I'll tell you, I am very fortunate. I am blessed. I have a pension. I have a Social Security. I have a 401k. My house is paid for. My cars are paid for. So my life is, I'm not rich, you know, I can buy the grandkids nice gifts,
Yeah.
but I can't buy them cars. You know what I mean? So I'm okay. So I'm not desperate. So I don't knock myself out trying to be an actor. I just play me. I don't have to act. I'm just being me.
Right.
My last TV show, Welcome to Flatch, I was me. The character was a dim-witted curmudgeon with a slight drinking problem.
Oh, okay.
So now
In a
the
small
show
Ohio
is,
town. Yeah.
yes, it's a neat little town, Flatch, Ohio. the, the the nice thing for me was there was a British show that this is based off of,
Hmm.
and I didn't look at the show. I never looked at the character. I just know there's a character named Lynn, and he looks something like me. That's where I got an ability to do the pilot. And
Okay.
that's what we were supposed to do, record the pilot. And I looked something like him. Now, what I did with it after that is just me. I developed the boy having a drinking problem because now whether I actually have a drinking problem or not is a secret, and I'm not going to tell you.
Well, you know, it's funny you talk about it coming from a British TV show, you know, because so many ideas that end up being on American TV,
Hmm.
All in the Family started out as a British sitcom. Three's Company was, I think Three's Company was French.
Hmm.
You know, in movies like Birdcage and
There's very little that's original.
Good
It's
point.
remakes or redo. So one of my mottos are, hey, if you want to be an original, just be yourself.
Good point.
So I play myself, and or at least what I project as myself, and my performances are memorable in my opinion. So, and I think a lot of what I do is technically called shameless self-promotion. Anybody has a podcast, I'll be there.
Hmm.
Anybody has a ultra low budget film, I'll be there. You know, I'll
and
go do that so people get to see me.
you never know who's watching.
No, not at all.
People think you book roles because of someone that you know.
Hmm.
It's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Good point. Very good point.
So you
Mark and
just want to be visible and known.
Mark
And
and I have interviewed a lot of actors over the last 2 3 years, and what you quickly learn is that, you know, a lot of people think it's, oh, I was sitting in a park one day and bang, but it is years and years and years of developing a reputation
Hmm.
of a guy who shows up to work when he's
Yes.
scheduled to work, who look, if he's got to learn some lines, learns his lines, who is a good guy to work, is someone who's nice to work with, who's pleasant and personable and not an, pardon the expression, not an asshole.
right.
And well, boy, we like working with that. We need a guy to sit there and, you know, sell peanuts. Who we gonna get? Come on, get Bill. I like Bill. Bill's
Yes.
good to
Yeah,
work
for
with.
sure.
My first SAG-AFTRA film, it's a sweet little film called Tragedy Girls.
Hmm.
It's it's a good little film. And someone that I worked with as an actor that cast me as a extra. Someone that I worked with cast me as an extra. They're sitting at a production meeting, and they say we need to find a creepy janitor. And this guy pulls up my page, puts it on his laptop, flips it around, and slides it over to the director. How about this guy? And they liked it. They liked. There wasn't a lot of lines on my part.
Right.
It was basically I played a stupid janitor, okay, that the girls messed with, but flew me to Kentucky. Yeah, put me up in a hotel.
There you go.
Yeah, but
Beautiful.
it was someone that wanted to do me a nice because I wasn't an asshole on set.
Right.
And by the way, in case anybody asks you, you tell them Tokarsky is not an asshole. He's a hemorrhoid. He irritates
Oh,
assholes.
wow. Yeah. Well, you were good enough for them to put you up in the Homewood Suites over here in Wilmington.
Yes, yes.
Flatch did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I credit COVID with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I auditioned for Welcome to Flatch,
Mm-hmm.
it was the pilot. And when they film a pilot, a lot of times the advertiser says, I don't like that guy. He looks like my brother-in-law. Or, they change roles. They change things. They need to add someone, take someone away. So pilots are crazy. Not everybody comes back. I worked the pilot for an Adult Swim show and got knocked off the pilot, after the regular episodes. But it's part of the business. It's not a big deal.
Now, wait a minute. So
But,
this Flatch show was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina?
Yes.
Burgow, it's like 15 miles from here.
That's so dishonest. They're representing it as Ohio.
Oh,
and
they
it's
always
North
do that. This is the Hollywood way. Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, I just found out that boat from Gilligan's Island,
Yeah.
the minnow, that vehicle that boat can only go 17 knots an hour. And they went on a 3-hour tour. And so they couldn't have gotten more than 30 or 40 miles away from their, I mean, now I question whether that whole show is real and is even valid. I used to think, as a kid, I thought that was genuine. I thought they were really stuck on that deserted island.
And there are a few adults that will argue they're of a certain political orientation that will argue with you that it is real.
There you go. I love it.
If it was real, Marianne or Ginger would have been pregnant.
Yes.
After a month, after 2 months, Mrs. Howell would have started to look good to me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, most people aren't even old enough to understand what the heck we're talking about.
Yes.
Sure.
But so I went, they went up to film the pilot right when COVID struck.
Okay.
And they started filming on a Monday, and I was supposed to arrive Monday and start filming on Tuesday. And they filmed 10 hours with the two main principals, Holmes and Sam Straley, played the characters.
No, I know.
Played Shrub and why can't I remember her character's name?
I'm trying to think myself.
Take another sip of beer, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But they gave later. Okay, so they got 10 hours filmed. I got in, checked into the hotel, asked them where I could go get a hamburger, went to get something to eat. I'm sitting there eating a hamburger. I get a call on my cell. It's the line producer. She says, turn around in the morning and headed home because they're shutting it down because of this COVID virus.
Yeah.
So we spent, I think, somewhere between 6 and 9 months. I'd have to look and sure, not knowing anything.
And you went back to Georgia, right? During this.
Oh yeah, I went back home to Georgia. Yeah. I mean, I drove 7 hours up, and then in the morning I turned around and drove 7 hours home, and then sat and says, "There was my big break, and it's gone." Well, what happened was Fox liked the show, Lionsgate produced it, and they were happy with it. Fox says, hey, 14 episodes.
Mhm.
And so in 9 months later, we're all called. They can't change any actors.
Casting, yeah.
They can't change people. I got to come back as Lynn, whereas
Nice.
odds are they'd have found somebody that could really act. I grew up as an extra at Adult Swim. I've done a lot of fun stuff at Adult Swim.
Mhm.
I tell people I served an indentured apprenticeship at Adult Swim, and there I learned not to be afraid to fail and take chances. Okay. Nicholson has one of the quotes I like. Jack Nicholson says, if you got an urge, do it,
Mhm.
because there's always take two. So
Yeah,
Sure.
that was my philosophy.
I mean, that's the one great, I've been in about 15, 20 stage productions. And you don't get it when you're on live theater, you don't get a take two.
No, not at all. Yeah.
You mess up, most times people don't notice it, but you know it.
One of my favorite sayings is, as an actor, if you want to be famous, you do blockbuster films.
Right.
If you want to be rich, you work as a series regular on a television show.
There
Right.
you go.
But if you want to be good, you do live theater.
Sure. Yeah. Other actors we spoke to, Gordon Clapp said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Gordon Clapp asked him, he was Detective Medavoy on NYPD Blue. And I asked him what he preferred. He's Tony Award winning actor. I said, do you prefer Broadway, or would you rather be on television or in movies? And he said, I love the theater. Theater is the best until I go to the bank with my paycheck.
And theater actors, actually, a lot of them I talk to don't really care to do films, because you do the same damn thing 27 times. And it's like, okay, you got to, a stage actor never leaves character. He stays
Right.
in character. I've got a film coming out, if I'm blessed by the editors and it survives. I do a scene with Peter Dinklage and Brandon Fraser in a prison. It's called Brothers.
Mhm.
Super secret plot. I never saw any of it other than my little slice of the pie. And Fraser was fun. He'd cut up whatever. But Peter Dinklage, the stage actor,
Yes.
never left character.
Ah.
Never left character.
Mhm.
He's producing the show, one of the producers, so he's got some say in what he does. And he's packing his stuff to leave prison. And he decides to do a take where he's singing instead of humming.
Oh.
So when we got back to on-set holding and sat down on our little chairs and whatever, I turned and I looked him in the eye and I says, I liked your singing. That he broke character one time, and he said to me, what was your name? And I said, William. And that was the total time that he broke character.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it was a great,
the one criticism,
say again.
I was going to say, the one criticism that stage actors get on television shows and on in movies is because stage is a different dynamic. One of the things directors will say is you need to sell it to the back row.
Mhm.
You need to punch it up for the back row. You can't just look annoyed. You've got to really sell being annoyed, because they can't see a subtle little glint in your eye.
And I'm selling it to the camera this far away.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And there's Canada. Our motion picture television industry is much smaller, 10 times smaller than that of the United States. And so a lot of the actors in Canada who end up on TV shows cut their teeth on stage. And you watch one of the most well-known Canadian TV shows of recent years, about 15, 20 years ago, Corner Gas.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Great comedy. Yeah. I know it well.
But you watch some of the characters and they really you can tell they're they're great actors, but they're stage trained. And so they really sell everything and almost overdo it a bit.
And they can't improv because their line that they give leads to the next line. So you can't just improv and have fun with it. Like I say, I learned a lot of mine at Adult Swim. And
Yes.
Adult Swim's policy was the first 2 takes, you have to stay on book. You have to give the dialogue like it goes. After that, it goes anywhere.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Nobody knows what it's going to end up as until the editor's done.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky. I got to go into an editing session one time on one of my shows, and they've got these huge screens in there that they edit with, and they all sit in couches. And there's half a dozen people in there, and they're talking about doing it this way, doing it that way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, it's crazy. It's crazy. Did everybody get to watch Too Many Cooks?
I did, yeah. I saw it.
Yet?
I sent it to you, yeah.
Okay, Too Many Cooks.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, it's
I did
11 minutes that if you watch it on YouTube that you'll never get back.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
But this is something that aired at 4 o'clock in the morning the week before Halloween in 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And it was my friends at Adult Swim gave me the premiere role, no dialogue whatsoever. On my resume, I have it listed as background. I have a background role on my resume.
Okay.
But it has created for me a cult following, like we were talking about.
Yes.
Where when it was real, when it first came out, I would have people stop me at the gas station and want to do a selfie.
Wow.
In Georgia?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
So you're going to have to get Gordon to watch.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I've queued it up. I'm going to watch it after we're done.
Yeah.
Because you had asked Mark to send you, I way back 25 years ago or so, it was around the year 2000, went to a taping of a show called The Mike Bullard Show, which was our version of David Letterman or Conan O'Brien. And it was a horrible show because the quality of guests that Mike Bullard were getting was like, it was no A-listers.
Yeah.
It was obscure, little known talents.
D-listers.
And before the and before the show went on, they had a guy who did the warm-up show. That's what they called it, the warm-up show, to get the crowd warmed up.
Yeah.
And this guy was a horrible comedian named Sean Tweedley. And he never had much of a comedic career, but I think he was friends with Mike Bullard, the host of the show. So he got to do it. And they had a talent contest. And they had people come up and I had just gone there on a whim with a bunch of people I worked with. I worked for a tech company downtown, 10-minute walk from the studio. So we're like, I got tickets to the, let's all go. So we went. And because I do impressions, you go.
Yes.
So
let me say this. I loved your Rain Man. The other
Yes.
two, I had no idea who
He had
they
no,
were.
not being Canadian, he had no clue.
I should have done, well, I do a decent,
Reagan.
that was 2000 and Ronald Reagan wasn't that old. And now, William, I got to tell you, you're the greatest. Okay, I love
Yeah,
you.
right,
You've got a great
right.
show. All right, I'm going to be watching it. Okay, I'm sure it's New Apprentice. I'm much better than you. Okay, you're overrated, but you're okay. You like
Yeah.
it's good.
Oh,
I thought
love
of
it.
getting myself.
Yeah.
I thought of getting myself a MAGA hat with blonde hair out the side so I could do.
Yes. I cannot do voices or impressions.
Hmm.
I play myself.
Yeah,
Now, both my kids, 52 and 48, both were stage actors.
Ah.
I'm 75 years old.
right.
Okay. Both of them were stage actors.
Mhm.
And you make friends in this business, and I created the ability for them to try to slide into the business if they wanted to. But my son, the stage actor, just like, this is not acting,
No,
but yeah, it's what you have fun with, and you have some skills and you use your skills. My big advantage is my look, you know.
Yeah.
I look like a dim-witted curmudgeon with a slight drinking problem, or I look like a serial killer. I'm not sure
That's a
which.
good point too. Yeah. Good point.
That's the thing. Like you watch these, just touching a bit on politics, you watch any politician, doesn't matter right, left, in between. What do they always do when they have them out in front talking? They have the backdrop. They want people in behind them, and they want young, they want old, they want black, they want white, they want Asian, they want tall, they want short, they want a representative snapshot of whatever the population is. So if it's Wilmington, North Carolina, they say, okay, we're 12% African American. We
There
need,
you go.
we need 100 people. We need 12 blacks. We're 3% Asian. We need 3 Asians, and it's 50-50, half men, half women. And it just, and you've got to look. That's,
You do.
I've been blessed.
And William, I think you will agree that Flatch wouldn't have gone to season 2 if it wasn't for each and every cast member developing their own, plot line. It wouldn't have made it to season 2,
I was kind of hoping
for season 3.
My thought was my biggest desire was to win the SAG Ensemble Award because prior to season 2, there was no one particular star. Everybody played against each other,
right.
And I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
And what's so funny is you played a drunk on that, right?
Well, I don't like to think of Len as a drunk.
No,
he's just a dim-witted curmudgeon with a slight drinking problem.
Well, here's the funny thing: is that season 2's star that they brought in was Jamie Presley. I was hand selected to be on the TV show Mom. I was one of the extras, one of the background in the AA meetings on Mom with Jamie Presley.
You need to change.
I love AA meetings.
You need here's your new name. You're DC Wisp. DC Wisp.
Okay.
Admitted curmudgeon with a slight drinking problem. Sorry, DC Wasp. Wasp.
There you go.
DC Wasp.
Yeah. Cool. I like that.
Acronym
well, all I can do is what the director wants,
Yeah,
and what the writer wrote. I'm limited unless I get gutsy, and then I try something different. And like Nicholson said, there's always take 2. I have pissed off some directors. But I've also that TV show Welcome to Flatch. One of the executive producers is Paul Feig, who did Bridesmaids and all that. the #1 episode was directed, the pilot was directed by Paul. And there's a scene where a bunch of fireworks go off. And my direction is to go run and hide in an outhouse that happens to be there in the set. And Paul turned to me and said, you have to direct yourself. There's no director, second unit director. So we had a second unit that was shooting the same time as the first unit was shooting. And I had a cameraman and a loader, and I walked over to them and says, hey, keep it running. Don't shut it down. Just keep it running. And they said, okay, no problem. So my scene, when the fireworks went off, and you can't just set fireworks off all the time, but
Right.
I'm supposed to run into the outhouse. What I did next was I took my pants off and put them all the way down around my ankles, and then turned around, opened the door, and ran out of the outhouse, pulling up my pants and that's what they kept.
Of course.
Yes, but it wasn't written that way.
No.
And that was the people at Adult Swim that taught me not to be afraid to take a chance.
Yeah, take a risk.
And from that point on, they wrote me some nice stuff,
I'll tell you, I was in a production of a play called After Magritte,
Okay.
and I'm a detective,
Ooh.
and there's been a crime, and I'm staking out this house and looking through the windows, and eventually I and a sergeant come into the house, and the front door or the flat, the apartment, and the door is closed. And this wasn't in the stage direction, but the set designers had a blind, a roll down blind. You pull the string and it comes down. So as we're looking through the window, it's British, and the woman goes, "Oh, bloody cheek," and and it throws down. And what was on the blind? It was male genitalia. So as soon as she went bloody cheek, and boom, it came down. There was a laugh from the audience, and then we knock at the door and we walk in, and I look around the apartment and around the flat, and I'm looking around, and of course I have to react to what's on there. And at dress rehearsal, I left the lines. I went, well, didn't know you were Jewish. And totally flummoxed everyone there because that wasn't in the script.
That's
Did they
great.
keep it?
On stage, you have to stay on.
Yeah, you can't.
That was
it's
dress
not-
rehearsal, so I figured I got to do it now because I can't do it when we're opening night or any other time. But
Very
Did they
nice.
keep it?
they could. It was staged.
Yeah, it's staged, so you had to.
But
keep
they
it.
could have rewrote it for.
Not. We were going. That was
It was
dress
live.
rehearsal. The next night was opening night.
Okay.
Yeah, and typically speaking, theater is they want you staying to the script.
Oh yeah.
They don't want you deviating from the script in theater because everyone's feeding off of everyone else.
Yes.
Mhm.
But we just had Veterans Day, and now you have just had your Thanksgiving. And I think it's fitting that we thank a veteran of a Vietnam War veteran,
Yeah.
an automotive worker, backbone of the American economy, an electrician, and now
An actor.
who's, living out the dream and is, who
An
knows?
old
You could be
man
this
doing play pretend.
DC, what was it?
Wisp.
There you
DC
go.
Wasp. DC
There
Wasp.
you go. And you
Well,
gotta
thank you, gentlemen.
you got to continue acting because you look at all these people who have acted for so long, the Betty Whites, the Angela Lansbury. And what's funny, Gordon mentions theater, and I really wish I could have seen Gordon in these stage productions. I'm sure he was great. But look at all these actors like Jason Alexander, Angela Lansbury, who later in their careers, they preferred the stage, over TV, but kudos to you, William. Stay at it. How long did Betty White work until her 90s?
Yes.
She's still very young. And also, you should try to get into announcing too.
I saw
Sports
Mickey
announcing. That
Rooney
would be
on stage
hilarious.
when he was in his 90s.
Yeah.
He did a stage play in Toronto.
Sure.
And it was great because as soon as he came out on stage, the audience all went, "Oh my God, it's Mickey Rooney." And they all started to applaud. And he broke character, took a couple steps toward the audience and went like this.
Nice.
And then he zipped back in and he was back in character.
I love
great.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, William.
He actually has the record for the number of credited performances of any actor.
I'm not surprised.
Because he started as a kid.
Yes. With Shirley Temple.
Before Shirley Temple.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, William, thank you very much.
This has been a thrill. Yeah.
A great Thanksgiving for you.
William
Thank you so
Tokarsky,
much for inviting me.
everyone.